All right, so review packet number 1 reflects the majority of what is on Tuesday and Wednesday's part of the final. That's not what I want to do. Next to each question here today, I put whether it's on Wednesday's part or Tuesday's part, so that you could study specifically for the ones on Tuesdays if you want to tonight. Does that make sense? Also, somebody could hit the lights for the front of the room. In the Google Classroom today, I will post updated answer keys for, I already posted the answer keys for all the reviews, but I retook my scans of them, and next to each one it tells which day of the final it's on. Does that make sense? So you can look through the keys and figure out exactly which numbers you need. I have more information at the end of this smart presentation. All right, so let's get started. This is on Wednesday's part, so we got to review it today because we're taking part tomorrow, part Wednesday. Hang on, I'm trying to figure out. Okay, here we go. This says write a linear function if f of x equals y, right guys? So this is saying when x equals 8, y equals 10, and when x equals 4, y equals 9. You can do this question by hand. Does everybody have review number 1? Okay. You could also do this by using a line of regression. Okay, you could put 8, 10, 4, 9. I can go through both real fast. If you're doing it by hand, you would want to find the slope. Minus x1. And then use point slope. So if you did, I'll do 10 minus 9 for the y's over 8 minus 4. That's 1/4 is the slope. If I put in this for the x and this for the y, I would have y minus 10 equals 1/4 x minus 8, which would be 1/4 x. When I distribute this, I get minus 2, and then I add the 10 over there. I get y equals 1/4 x plus 8. Some of you could do this, like I said, by using line of regression. It's stat, enter. Are those the right points? Did I already put them in? 8, 10, and 4, 9 or not? Okay. So you would put them in list 1 and list 2. The x is in list 1, the y is in list 2. And then it's stat, right arrow, choice 4 is what we used. You don't need to store anything, so you could just go down to calculate. Now, it says 0.25 and 8. Is that the same thing as this? Okay. So one way or the other, you got to know how to write equation of a line between 2 points for Wednesday. Are we good? Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So this is quadratic formula, yes? Okay. This one we had to graph and find an appropriate window. We put this in using x's. And then we found a window where it looked like this, whatever made it look like that. Then we put in x equals 0. You can look at the table or do a trace. We put in at y2 a line of 100. And we found the 2 intersection points. Average rate of change We put in a 3 and a 5, and we got out, can anybody tell me what those were? Anybody have them written down, or do we not do this one? Okay, so then we found those from the table, and then remember average rate of change meant slope. So that would be 122 minus 118 over 5 minus 3, which was 4 over 2, or 2 feet per second. Is that what we had? Are one of these wrong? Oh, that's my bad. Okay. No. So was this negative 96 then? Divided by 2 made this negative 48 feet per second. Okay. Did we already do 4? Okay. I would suggest with one like this that you go ahead and put in your calculator. Looks like I might have. Is that the right one? Okay. And then we're supposed to use the expression to find the value of f of 0. So what they want you to do is put in a 0. But if we've already going to have to graph it anyway, couldn't we just, let's see, zoom 6, which probably is not a good window, but I really am not that concerned at this point. It just wants to know where we are at 0. So if we do trace 0, you get 270 for this first answer. You could use the table or trace there. Now it wants to find the maximum and where it's increasing. So now we do need a good window. So you could probably use zoom out. I am thinking we need to look up much higher. Does that seem right, guys? I'm going to change this to like negative 102. Does anybody have a number written down for the top? Okay. So this is the shape we're getting. You could change the bottom more, but we need to find the maximum. Is that what they asked us to find, guys? Okay, so the maximum is over here. We need to hit enter for left bound, go to the right of it, hit enter. And then I got negative 3 and 864. Okay. This one did not require any rounding, really. And then it says identify where it's increasing. Well, the picture looked like, oh, this is probably really bad, but something like that. Yes, it went up and then it had like a little cubic shape over here. I could drag this onto the screen so it was not so ridiculous of a picture. Whoops. So it is increasing, and then all of this is actually decreasing. So it is increasing from the left until we get to, now remember it's x intervals. So from the left until we get to that x value up at the top, which is negative 3. And intervals for increasing and decreasing are always just parentheses. Questions? All right. Number 5, the parent function, guys. It says 3 transformations applied in order to this. What is the parent function? Well, the parent function is just the square root graph. Okay. How do we stretch it by a factor of 2? Vertically means we just put it on the outside of the function because it's changing the y's, not the x's. A horizontal shift to the right 3 changes x values, but it's the opposite of what it seems, so it would be minus 3. And down 2 is y values, so it's on the outside and it shifts it down 2. I was very kind and there's nothing cranky about that one, right? Does that seem pretty straightforward? Like we did a million of those? All right. It's been a while, guys. Does anybody remember how this works? You work your way backwards. So we put a 7 into G first. There's no need to write anything funky. Just evaluate it. Put a 7 into G and we get out 22 over 2 is 11. Did I do that right? And then you put that answer. Okay, so this is really the same thing. And we found that value to be 11. So then you're putting 11 into F. So 11 squared plus 1 is 121 plus 1 or 122. Questions? I will slow down or make up another example, like anything you need. I just don't want us not to finish going over all the different kinds today. So give a shout if you need me to go back over something. All right. Inverse is where you switch the X and the Y's. And then you have to solve for X. On this kind, you have to cross multiply. So we'd have X times Y minus 3 equals 5Y plus 1. We distribute and we get XY minus 3X equals 5Y plus 1. Then what's our goal? Get all the Y's to one side. So I'm going to subtract 5Y over to this side and get everything that doesn't have a Y together on the other side. So I have an XY minus a 5Y equals either 1 plus 3X or 3X plus 1, doesn't matter. And you could do these in a different order. Your answer can look different at the end, but you have to factor out that Y and then divide to get the Y by itself. So it could look like that. It's possible if you moved things in the other direction, it could look like this. Okay, just changing the signs. It won't be wrong. This notation, that's really weird notation. It's supposed to look like this, I think. But anyway, don't worry about that. Just fill in what you get here. Now, there is more examples of this on packet 3. There's 2 more of these on review 3, okay? There are 2 more of those to practice if that's something that's given you trouble in the past. Questions? All right. Oh, multiplicity. Makes me sad that we have so much trouble with multiplicity, but guys, it's the exponent thing. The 0 here would be -8. And that one has an exponent of 3, so it's multiplicity 3. The 0 here, the opposite of that would be 2. That has no multiplicity, or it's an exponent of 1, so you can write multiplicity 1. And this guy out front is a 0 at 0, and that's also multiplicity 1. You don't have to write multiplicity 1. But if you want the degree, it is the total of the multiplicities. So 1, 1, and 3 is degree 5 for this. Everybody okay? Is there a leading coefficient on anything here? No, so it would be +1. So a degree 5 is an odd multiplicity. The ends go opposite directions. If you have a positive leading coefficient, it looks like this. If we had a negative leading coefficient, it would look like this. Ours is positive, so it looks like this. You can type that thing in and graph it, but you're going to have to fiddle around a lot to find a window, okay? It's much easier just to know that an odd degree with a positive leading coefficient is this way. If it was an even degree with a positive leading coefficient, both ends would be up, or both ends would be down if it was even degree with a negative leading coefficient. Everybody okay? All right, now we got to remember how we write this for this shape. You want to say, this one lists x first. I don't care which you do first. If you do x, if you're talking about going negative, it would be going left. And what is it doing on the left, guys? Down. So you would say y or f of x, I don't care which, is going negative as well. Either one is fine, f of x or y. I won't count that wrong. Then the other side is to the right, which is x goes to the right, positive. And on the right, it is going up. So you say y is going towards infinity, or f of x. Remember that stuff? Yes. It does not. As long as you have x going left and x going right, and then either f of x or y that matches what direction it should be going, I will read it and make sure it's okay. I don't care what you put first. All right, using the appropriate method of your choice, divide this. You may ignore any remainder. Can I use synthetic here? Yes. If you had to use long division on the test, I would do with long division for you to remind you how to do that, but you don't, so I'm just going to stick with synthetic to save time. Remember, it is the 0 that you put in the box up here, which is the -4. You list the coefficients. You bring the first one down, you multiply, you add, you multiply, you add. You multiply, I don't know what that is, but this is going to be the remainder anyway, right? So we get to ignore that. What does this represent? Yes, this is the remainder. This is a constant. This one gets an x. This one gets an x squared. So it's x squared minus 10x plus 44. The key had, I think, a minus 44 that was wrong. I will, when I post the fixed key today, it'll be right, okay? I wrote 44 on my work and then somehow over here wrote minus 44, I think. I think that's the one I had messed up. Any questions? That's it. It says ignore the remainder, so you don't have to do anything with it. It makes me nauseous thinking some of you might miss this. All this wants is the degree, and the turning points are the degree minus 1. Remember this? If this is degree 4, then there are 4 possible zeros and 3 possible turning points, because if it crossed 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, there could be 3 maxes and mins, okay? This one says, find the factored form and list all the real zeros. Please always look for a common factor. What can I take out of this? An x squared. When I take an x squared out, I will have x squared minus 4x minus 5. Then that factors x minus 5 and x plus 1. So the completely factored form, don't lose any of those factors. So where are the real zeros, guys? 0, and that's multiplicity 2. It didn't ask you to write that, and you won't have to. I'm just trying to review that concept again, okay? And then here would be 5 and -1, and those are each multiplicity 1. Any questions? Yes. No, absolutely. Any order. Good question. All right. This one makes me nervous. Please at least get some of it right, okay? Because It's not graded by standard, guys. It's graded like this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Everything is like a point. It's either right or wrong. This one is probably worth like 4 points. So get at least part of it right if you get stuck. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that -5 maybe, guys? And then it crosses at 0 and at 2. So the zeros are -5, 0, and 2. Are there any multiplicities? Okay, it is doing a bounce at -5. Something like that. All right. The K business is y equals some K times. What do you want to write here for the factors? You want to write x plus 5 squared. Don't forget the squared. If you told me it has a multiplicity, make sure you include it down here. And then it crossed at 0. You can put x or x minus 0, it doesn't matter. And then back here at 2, you could write x minus 2. Remember, it says right here, it's x minus the 0. So x minus -5 became plus 5. All right, and then I think on the quiz it might remind you of the ordered pair, but this is the ordered pair, guys, that you're putting in. It says when x is -2, you get out what? -288, is that what it said before I scribbled on it? Okay, where am I putting all those? Y is -288. X is -2 plus 5 squared, -2 minus 0, -2 minus 2. Okay, if you get this far where you've gotten the factors, that's another point, okay? So make sure you at least write it out with the factors. All right, to get the full points, we got to find the right K value here. So we have -288. Yes. -2 plus 5 is 3 squared. -2 and -4. All right, so then I'm thinking this is 9 times -2 times -4. This would be +8. 9 times 8 is 72. Is it -4 maybe? -288 divided by 72? Okay, thank you. So then the final answer here is y equals -4 times x. I'm going to move that 0 one out front. You don't have to. X plus 5 squared and x minus 2. You can write them in any order, as long as it's all just multiplication. Should I have known it was going to be negative ahead of time? Did I write something wrong, guys? Oh yeah, it doesn't need to be in parentheses. Yep, good question. Doesn't need to be in parentheses. How did I know it was going to be negative? Yep. Is the K value wrong? Okay. Yep, I'll check. Thanks. Yeah, need to write that down. How did I know it was gonna be negative, guys? Yeah, it was going down. Everybody good? Remember that business? Yep, mine is definitely wrong. Oh, I left off the 0. When I did the K part, I forgot the 0 value. Yes, I will fix the key. When I repost it today, it will be right. Okay. Sorry about that. This one, please get this right. This is all the possible. That's where you do plus or minus the factors of the constant over plus or minus the factors of the leading coefficient. Pretend that says coefficient. So what are all the factors of 4? That's the constant, or negative 4. And the leading coefficient is 3. Guys, what are all the factors of 4? Okay. And the factors of 3? 1 and 3. Now put those all on top of each other, and you get 1, 2, and 4 could all be over 1, but they could also all be over 3. So you'd have 1/3, 2/3, and 4/3. And each of those is actually plus or minus. I think that's a 2-point question. So don't miss something pretty easy if you just practice a little, okay? Any questions? All right, number 14. I think this is the same question we were just doing. What you want to do is find a couple nice ones. Could somebody read it to me? Do I have it right? Okay, I'll start with a standard window. All I need to see is that -2 and +2 look like zeros, or I could look at the table. Okay, -2 and +2 are zeros. Now there is a third one that I'm going to have to figure out. Which one do you want me to divide first? This is where you do successive division. Okay, if I do -2 first, I have across the top 3, 1, -12, and -4. You could do the 2 first. It will just have different numbers. You'll still get the same answer in the end. Bring down the 3, multiply, add. Multiply times -2 is 10. Add is -2 times -2 is +4. Add is 0. If you don't get a 0, you did something wrong, okay? Because if it showed up on the calculator, that's how it should work. Now we're going to do the +2. Keep going. Bring this down. 2 times 3 is 6. Add to -5 is +1, sorry. And then 2 times 1 is 2, and that leaves a remainder of 0 again. Okay, so what are the factors? How do we write -2 as a factor? Okay, how do we write +2 as a factor? And there's one left down here. What is this one that's left? Okay, I'm going to put it out front, but you don't need to. Put them in any order you want. So what is the last 0 that I don't want to forget to write up here? Get -1/3. Does that reflect with our graph? Did it cross over here at a... Yep, just to the left. Okay, we could have typed -1, trace -1/3, and it would work. And it would say that is the other 0. Okay. This will not work. You will not get full credit if you write this. Okay? Be very careful, because this doesn't have the right leading coefficient. Do you see it's got to be a 3? You could put it out here like that. That would be okay. Okay? But it's got to have that 3 as a leading coefficient, or you won't get full credit. All right. All the vertical asymptotes, you will have the sheet. The reference sheet will be on the back, okay, of the final, I think. Or it's a separate sheet. I can't remember. I think it's on the back. But that's where you look for the rules. Do you remember the rules about vertical asymptotes are from where? The denominator. How does this denominator factor, guys? X plus 1 and x minus 1. The top does not factor, so it has two vertical asymptotes. They are at x equals -1 and x equals 1. Please remember they are equations. They have to say x equals to be vertical asymptotes. You can't just write like two numbers. Any questions about that one? All right, use the appropriate rules of end behavior. This one is top heavy, right? So what does the rule say? It says, so no horizontal asymptote. You have to divide, ignore remainder. Okay, that's basically copied right off the peach sheet, which you will have on the back of the final. All right, so this one is top heavy. It is degree 2 over degree 1, just to clarify that. When it says divide, ignoring remainder, can we do synthetic on this one? And the original version of the final had like you had to put a 0 in. It had like a degree 3 on I changed it. There's nothing complicated here. 4, -3, 5. Bring it down, multiply, add, multiply, add, but you get to throw out this anyway. So you get y equals 4x minus 15. Do I have that one right in the key? Yay. Questions? All right, this one doesn't have a number. For some reason, I skipped numbering. I'm sorry. This should concern me because I'm not sure we ever did one that looked exactly like this, but use your brain here. What do you do first? Use your Algebra 1 brain first. Divide by 5. So then it says log base 2 of x equals 8. Did I do that right? Then this is really like an exponentiate problem. Yeah, or it's rewrite the base to the answer to a log is the power equals. So it's a big number. I don't know what that is. What is it? Oh, that's not as big as I thought. Everybody okay with that one? There is another practice like this on review 3, I think. If that one's freaking you out. All right. Oh, this is basically the same idea, except what do you have to do first over here? Okay. So it says, explain how you use the properties of logs. Condense to a single log, and minus becomes division. So you'd have log base 5 of x over 6 equals 2. Is everybody okay? And then how do we rewrite this again? Yes. X over 6 equals 5 squared, or 5 squared equals x over 6. I prefer you think of it as base to the power equals x over 6, but it's the same thing. How to get rid of divided by 6? You're going to have to multiply, right? Is it 150, guys? And you could put it back in your calculator and check. Log base 5, the log base is under math button. 150 minus log base 5 of 6 equals, and it should come up 2. All right, and the last one on this review, you will have the formula sheet for this as well. This makes me nervous. Oh, no, these are on different days. Okay. One day you need the reference sheet with all the rules about rationals, and one day you need the rules with the formulas. So, but this is the formula. Find the length of time T needed if for a single cell amoeba reproduces every hour, it doubles. That's the rate of 2. If 47 are placed in a dish, it doubles every hour. Oh, that's sweet. So that means H is just 1 for this example. 47 are the original amount. So you would have 47, they are doubling, but it's only every single hour, and you want it to become 17,500. Okay. I feel like all we've done is these for 3 weeks, but you divide first. Then you take the log of both sides. There's no ln, so you can, or there's no e, so you can do either kind of log. You're welcome to do ln. And then you have the log of 17,500 over 47. Please don't type until the end because you will round differently. And then we can bring that t over 1 out front. This one is not going to have an extra step, right? T over 1 is just t. Most of the time you'd have at the end, you'd have to multiply by that divisor. And then we're going to just divide both sides by the log of 2. So that's just going to be t. So I have the log of, was it, quit, Hofbauer, your graph. Log 17,500. And then close parenthesis divided by the log of 2. 8.54, anybody? Now, if it says to round to the nearest tenth of an hour, I'm pretty sure that means we're not actually going to hit 17,500 when we put it back in. If we start with 47 and we're doubling 8.5 times, it's going to be a little short, I think. 17,500. Nope, that's what we're trying to get to. 47 times 2 to the 8.5. Is, oh, it's still over. Okay, it's 17,016 maybe? So it said to grow to over 17,500? What? Are we that far off? Okay. Let me see what yeah, I was a little, I think I made it on the final a little bit better. If you rounded this, what you were supposed to have to do back in, when I was counting this differently, was you would have had to realize it wasn't enough and you'd have had to go back and round this to 8.6. And if you make it 8.6, that makes this 18,237. But you don't have to do that. I will take either answer, okay? It's not over, but that's okay. I think I even changed the wording a little on the actual, I just didn't change the review. Yes, as long as you do it correctly, whether you rounded 8.5 or 8.6 is fine. You just have to have the right value there. Okay. The other things that I would like to look, is that everything on here? Oh, that's a problem. Go to review 3 quickly. We did not. There are more practice on review 3 of some of these concepts. No, it's not the yellow sheets, the packet handed out Friday. I have extras if you need one. Probably over on by the pencil sharpener. Here's some extras too. Okay, on review 3, there are quite a few things that repeat, okay? Guys, on the answer key, it says which day it's on. Does that make sense? Oh, wait a minute. Here, you can take, no, go ahead, you're good. You can take a picture. I put it on a slide. Where did I put it? Stop panicking, Hoffbauer. If you want to take a picture of that slide, look, here it says on review 3, these would be extra practice for Tuesday's part. And on review 3, these would be extra practice for Wednesday's part. Does that help? Now, I think we did all of those kinds except a couple of these at the end I feel like we haven't talked about. So I'm going to go to review 3. How much time do I have? Okay. Towards the end here, we didn't review this, but this is an RREF question. I don't need to review that one again, right? But let's look at this number 30. On review 3, I think it's the last question. Barry sold tickets to a musical. He forgot to keep track of the number of student tickets. This is very, very close to what's on the final. He forgot to keep track of the number. Okay, he collected $1,000 worth selling $5 student tickets and $10 adult tickets. It says right here, let X be the number of student tickets and Y be the number of adult tickets. So every student ticket was $5 and he sold X of them. Plus every adult ticket was $10 and he sold Y of them. And the first day he sold $1,000 worth of tickets. But then it says, according to the ticket numbers, he sold twice as many student tickets as adult. Twice as many students. Now, this is where you guys get stuck, because I do the same thing. Twice as many students means students is 2 times the adults, right? You got to be real careful on that. Twice as many students. So that means students is 2 times the adults. If he sold 10 adults, he sold twice that many, or 20 students, okay? Then if you wanted to use a matrix, you would have to do something like this, okay? Because it's got to be X, Y, and what it's equal to. You don't have to use a matrix. You could certainly do substitution. Okay? No? You can do this and use a matrix, yes.
Do 5 times 1,000 X 1
And then RREF.
Yes.